The fall of Kalar 9. The warning sirens came at dawn. Commander Zilthar's compound eyes snapped open in his sleeping chamber, all four limbs jerking upright as the emergency klaxon tore through the underground colony. Around him, the carved stone walls of Kalar 9's residential sector trembled with a low, distant thunder that shouldn't exist on a mining world. All civilians to shelter stations. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Zilthar's chitinous exoskeleton clicked rapidly as he burst into the corridor, the Kalar equivalent of a racing heartbeat. Other miners stumbled from their quarters, mandibles clicking in confusion and fear. These were excavators, geologists, families, not soldiers. They had never needed to be soldiers. The Galactic Cooperative protected its members. Everyone knew that. It was the one constant in a dangerous universe. Join the cooperative, follow the rules, and you would be safe. Zilthar's communicator crackled to life. Commander, we have multiple hyperspace signatures emerging in orbit. 42 vessels. They're not responding to hails. His blood ran cold. 42 warships didn't appear by accident. He sprinted toward the command center, his 6 legs carrying him through tunnels that suddenly felt like a tomb. The mining colony of Kalar 9 stretched for kilometers beneath the planet's surface, a maze of chambers and shafts where 50,000 Kalar had built homes, raised children, and believed they were safe. The command center was chaos. Holographic displays flickered with red warning icons. Orbital sensors showed a fleet of angular, predatory vessels arranged in attack formation. Every Kalar in the room stood frozen, staring at screens that showed their worst nightmare made real. Vrain Empire, someone whispered. The name fell like a stone into still water. The Vrain were conquerors, slavers, butchers. They took what they wanted and left ash behind. But they had never attacked a cooperative world before, never dared to cross that line, until now. They're launching strike craft, the sensor officer reported, voice cracking. Hundreds of them. Commander, what do we... The first impact shook the entire colony. Dust rained from the ceiling. Emergency lights blazed to life as primary power flickered. Through the walls came the muffled roar of something massive striking the surface above them. Again and again, methodical and brutal. Deploy defensive platforms, Zilthar ordered, forcing his voice to stay steady. Sir, we have 2 automated defense satellites. They're already gone. Another impact. Closer this time. The mining colony had never been meant for war. Their defenses were designed to ward off pirates, small raids, quick strikes. Not a full fleet. Not an invasion. Broadcast distress signal on all cooperative channels, Zilthar commanded. Maximum power. Tell them, already transmitting, sir. But the nearest cooperative fleet is 6 days away at maximum jump speed. 6 days, they had hours at most. The bombardment continued, a relentless thunder that shook the stone around them. Zilthar pulled up the colony roster on his command display. 50,000 names, families, hatchlings barely old enough to understand what danger meant. His mandibles ground together. Seal all lower levels. Evacuate civilians to the deepest chambers. Collapse the upper tunnels if you have to. Buy us time. Time for what, sir? Someone asked quietly. Zilthar didn't answer, because there was no good answer. The door to the command center hissed open, and Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen strode in, still sealing her Terran military uniform. The human advisor assigned to help new cooperative members integrate. 1 soldier among 50,000 civilians. Report, she snapped. Every Kalar turned to look at her. The alien with no exoskeleton, no natural armor. Nothing but soft skin and determined eyes that burned with something they'd never seen before in their peaceful species. Fury. Vrain fleet in orbit, Zilthar said. 42 ships. They're bombarding the surface and we have no way to stop them. Chen crossed to the tactical display in 3 strides. Her eyes swept the hologram, taking in the fleet composition, their positioning, the strike patterns already forming in the dust above. They're not trying to destroy us, she said quietly.
Not yet.
This is suppression fire. They're coming down to take prisoners, slaves. The word hung in the air like poison. The cooperative fleet, Zilthar began, won't get here in time. Chen's jaw tightened. But there's another option. She turned to face him, and Zilthar saw something in those strange human eyes, something that made his species' ancient prey instinct scream. Warnings. I can reach the nearest human patrol in 18 Hours if I push my ship past safe limits. The cooperative won't move fast enough. Protocol, committees, approval chains, your people will be dead or in chains before they finish filing the paperwork. She stepped closer. But humans? We don't need permission to help family. Your ship is a light courier, Zilthar protested. Not even armed. The Vran they'll ignore me. Too small to matter. Too fast to catch. Another impact rocked the colony and Chen's expression hardened further. I'm not asking permission, Commander. I'm telling you I'm going. The question is whether you can hold out long enough for me to come back. Zilthar looked at the tactical display. At the 50,000 names on his roster. At the human who stood before him alone, unarmed and absolutely certain. How long? He asked. 12 days. Maybe 14 if they have to reposition. We'll be dead in 3. Then don't be. Chen pulled something from her pocket. A small metal coin with human symbols stamped on both sides. She pressed it into Zilthar's primary manipulator claw. This is a challenge coin. My unit, it means your family, and we don't abandon family. She was already moving toward the door. Hold them, Commander, no matter what it takes, because I promise you. She looked back and her voice dropped to something cold and absolutely certain. I'm coming back, and I'm bringing friends. Then she was gone, sprinting toward the surface hangar. Zilthar stood frozen, staring at the small metal circle in his claw. Around him, the command center waited. Above them, the bombardment continued. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, a human began the longest run of her life. 12 days of hell. The first Vran drop pods punched through Kalar 9's atmosphere like meteors of black iron. Zilthar watched them fall on the surface cameras, each impact sending up plumes of dust and shattered rock. 40 pods, 60, 100. They kept coming, wave after wave, until the entire northern hemisphere looked like it was being struck by a plague of falling stars. Seal blast doors on levels 1 through 5, he ordered. Collapse tunnel 7. Route all remaining power to life support in the deep shelters. His officers moved with practiced efficiency, but Zilthar could see the tremor in their movements, hear the rapid clicking of stressed chitin. They were miners playing at being soldiers, and everyone in the room knew it. The first breach came on hour 6. Contact, level 2. French shock troops pushing through the northern access shaft. Zilthar pulled up the security feed and felt his blood freeze. The Vran were massive, bipedal reptilians in powered armor, each one carrying weapons that looked like they could punch through starship hulls. They moved through the tunnels like they owned them, methodical and unstoppable. Behind them came the collectors. Unarmed Vran carrying restraint fields and processing equipment. They weren't here to kill, they were here to harvest. Mining equipment, Zilthar said suddenly. The plasma cutters, the seismic charges, anything that can be weaponized. Do it now. For 3 days they fought. Kalar workers who'd spent their lives cutting stone now turned their tools against living flesh. Seismic charges meant for excavation became improvised explosives. Maintenance tunnels became kill zones. Loading equipment became barricades. They made the Vran pay for every meter, but they were still losing. On day 4, Zilthar stood in what remained of the command center. Half the consoles were dark. The walls cracked from nearby impacts and counted his losses. 8,000 dead. 20,000 in the deep shelters cut off and surrounded. The rest scattered through a shrinking network of defended tunnels. His communicator crackled with fragmentary reports. Holding at junction 42, but we're almost out of. Need medical. We have wounded who can't. They're using gas. Some kind of paralytic. We can't. He clutched Chen's challenge coin like a lifeline. The metal was warm from constant contact with his claw. 12 days, she'd said. He'd given her 4. On day 7, they lost the water purification systems. On day 8, the Vran broke through to Shelter Complex 3. 2,000 civilians. The screams over the comm channels would haunt Zilthar for whatever remained of his life. On day 9, he found himself in a supply depot turned makeshift hospital, surrounded by the wounded and dying. A young Kalar, barely past her first molt, looked up at him with compound eyes dulled by pain. Is help coming? She whispered. Zilthar's mandibles clicked softly. He should tell her the truth, that the cooperative fleet was still days away, that the human was probably dead in deep space, her ship's engines burned out in a futile race against time. Instead, he pressed Chen's coin into the young Kalar's claw. Yes, he said. Help is coming. A human promised me, and humans keep their promises. He didn't believe it anymore, but she needed to. Day 10 brought fire. The Vran had stopped being patient. They pumped incendiary gel into the contested tunnels, turning entire sections into infernos. The Kalar fell back again and again, until there was nowhere left to retreat to. Zilthar gathered what remained of his command staff in the deepest bunker, a chamber 3 kilometers beneath the surface, surrounded by the last 5,000 Kalar still fighting. The rest were dead, captured, or trapped behind Vrayan lines. "Sir," his tactical officer said quietly, "the Vrayan commander is broadcasting. He's offering terms." "Terms? Surrender now. All surviving Kalar will be processed as labor assets. He says he'll be merciful." Zilthar looked around the bunker, at the exhausted fighters, the terrified civilians, the children huddled against their parents. 12 days. They'd made it 11. "Open a channel to all remaining Kalar positions," he said. The comm network sparked to life, fragmentary, broken but still connected. Zilthar took a breath and felt the weight of every life depending on his next words. "This is Commander Zilthar. 11 days ago, a human named Sarah Chen left this world. She promised she would return with help. She gave me a token, a symbol that we are family, and I believe her." His voice grew stronger. "The cooperative taught us that civilization means following rules, filing reports, waiting for approval. But there's another kind of civilization, one that says when you hurt family, consequences come fast and hard. One that doesn't count the cost when friends are in danger." He looked at the challenge coin now back in his claw, scratched and dented from being passed between dying hands. "We are not cooperative citizens today. We are not miners or civilians or whatever soft words we used to hide behind. Today we are family. Sarah Chen's family. And if she's still out there, if she kept her promise, then we owe her one more day. One more hour. One more minute of resistance." The bunker was silent. Then someone began clicking their mandibles together. Slow, rhythmic, defiant. Another joined. Then another, until the entire bunker resonated with the sound of Kalar who refused to surrender. "No terms," Zilthar transmitted to the Vrayan commander. "No surrender. You want us? Come and take us." The bombardment resumed immediately. Day 12 dawned in hell. The Vrayan had brought up heavy equipment, industrial breaching drills designed to crack open starship hulls. The sound of them grinding toward the deep bunker echoed through the walls like the approach of mechanical death. Zilthar stood at the final barricade with 37 Kalar, who could still hold weapons. Behind them, the last of the civilians huddled in the darkness. The drilling stopped. In the sudden silence, Zilthar heard his own chiton clicking rapidly. Next to him, a young worker named Velix clutched a plasma cutter with trembling claws. "Sir," Velix whispered. "They're coming." The blast door shuddered. Once, twice, on the third impact. It buckled inward. Vrayan shock troopers poured through the gap, weapons raised, moving with the confidence of predators who'd already won. Zilthar raised his plasma cutter, knowing it was futile, knowing this was the end. Knowing that Chen had tried, but the universe was simply too vast and time too short. Every console in the bunker blazed to life simultaneously. The lights flickered, then steadied. Emergency speakers crackled with a sound Zilthar had never heard before, a sound like reality itself tearing open just above the planet's atmosphere. The Vrayan troopers hesitated, confusion breaking their advance, and then a voice filled every speaker, every communicator, every functional piece of technology in the entire colony. A human voice cold as deep space and absolutely certain. "Attention, Vran Fleet. This is Captain Marcus Webb of the United Nations Confederation Dreadnought Thunderchild. You are in violation of cooperative sovereignty. You have 12 seconds to begin withdrawing from Kalar 9's orbit. After that, we will remove you." The Vrain commander's response crackled back. "This is War Master Krell. I have 42 warships. You are 17 vessels. The mathematics are simple." A pause. Then Captain Webb's voice returned, and Zilthar heard something in it that made his prey instincts scream. The same cold fury he'd seen in Chen's eyes 11 days ago. "War Master, you've made 2 critical errors. First, you assumed we came here to negotiate. We didn't. We came here because you hurt family." Another pause. "Second, you forgot who taught the galaxy what overkill means. Let me remind you." On every working screen in the bunker, tactical displays burst to life, showing orbital space above Kalar 9. 17 human warships hung in the void like avenging angels, and every single one of them was already firing. Zilthar stared at the displays, his compound eyes struggling to process what he was seeing. The Vrain had made one final, fatal miscalculation. They'd thought the humans would follow cooperative rules of engagement, warnings, posturing, carefully measured responses. But Sarah Chen hadn't brought the cooperative, she'd brought humanity, and humanity had come for blood.